Welcome to the St. John Canada Games Aquatic Center. I'm Stephanie Palmer.
And I'm Barry Black, and we're pleased to bring you the Atlantic Diving Championships hosted by the St. John Fundy Diving Club.
We have teams here from Pointe Claire, Quebec, Newfoundland, Halifax, Nova Scotia, Moncton, and St. John, New Brunswick.
The competition is going to be keen, and we're really looking forward to a first-class meet. First diver, Dale McLean, men's open.
Okay, Dale's from Moncton, and he's been diving for a long time. He's just trying to make a comeback.
Nice
dive.
That was
a pretty good dive, really good dive.
Second diver, Derek Theriault.
Okay, he's going to be doing a front dive in the tuck position. That was nice. It was a little bit crooked, but it was a really nice entry.
Good entry, but at the top was crooked, as you said, Stephanie. Third diver, James Bartlett.
He's going to be doing a front 1 1/2 somersaults in the pike position.
Nice dive.
A little bit far out from the board. He could have taken it up a little bit higher instead of taking it out.
Next diver, Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy.
Okay, and Peter just did a front 1 1/2 in the tuck position, and it was really, really nice dive.
Good dive. Next we have Mike Lang. He's the coach of Team Newfoundland.
Okay, Mike's going to be doing a front 1 1/2 somersaults in the pike position as well. He could have got a little more height on that dive.
Quite a splash. Next we have David Duncan. He's the coach of the Cygnus Club in Halifax.
Okay, and that was a front dive pike. Really nice dive. It's hard to tell from this angle. When you're on the side, it's a lot easier to tell.
Next we have Adam Marsh.
He's from the Newfoundland Diving Club. Okay, that was a front 1 1/2 pike. Really nice dive. This is the first time, I think, since the Canada Games in 1985 that Newfoundland's been in the facility. So it's great for St. John to have these teams finally coming out.
Now, Stephanie, we're moving into the Women's Open. They'll be diving off the 3-meter. The first diver is Cara Ramsey.
Okay, Cara's from the St. John Fundy Diving Club, and she's been diving for about 4 or 5 years, I believe. She's developing into a really nice diver. Oh, that was a balk. So that means that they'll deduct 2 points from each of her dives.
What do you think would have caused that, Stephanie?
She may not have heard the whistle. It doesn't look like she thought that they blew the whistle, but they may not have. Front 1 1/2 pike. Nice dive. It's too bad she did have that balk.
The next diver is Pam Innes from Team Newfoundland.
Pam's been diving for quite a long time. She was in the 1985 Canada Games here in the city.
Seemed to be some confusion there about who was diving next. We had the same confusion starting off. Getting the diving list was not easily acquired.
Okay, and that was a front dive pike. Very nice.
Very smoothly done. Next we have Alana Cundy from Point Claire.
This girl's only been diving for 7 months, and she's a big up-and-coming diver. As Barry said, she dives for Point Claire. It was a nice dive.
Nicely done. Would she have had a background in gymnastics to be able to dive at this level,
Possibly,
Stephanie?
yes,
Yeah.
possibly. Gymnastics helps when you're first starting out in diving. Same types of moves.
Our next diver is Julie Kelson, St. John Fundy Diving Club.
Okay, and Julie was just executed a front one and a half in the pike position. It was really nice. She could have got a little deeper in her pike.
The next diver, Andrea Coburn from Point Claire.
Okay, Andrea has been diving for about 6 years, and she's been in the last 4 age group nationals.
Oh, nicely done. What was the dive, Stephanie?
That was a front 1.5 pike. As the dives go on, they get more difficult in their degree.
Next we have Jennifer Hudson of the St. John Fundy Diving Club.
We're doing a front dive pike. A little
Nicely
bit
done.
far out, but it was really nice.
And that ends the 3-meter portion of the Women's Open, and we'll be going to the second round of the Men's Open divers. Dale McLean once again from Moncton.
That was a front double pike position. Very difficult to do on 1 meter, but the men are more commonly do it.
Derek Theriault from the Cygnus Halifax is next.
And Derek's only been diving for 2 months, so he's coming along quite well. I was talking to his coach earlier, and his basics are very good.
The basics fell apart a bit on that one.
Yeah, he had a good jump.
Yeah.
He just didn't lift his legs up fast enough,
Exactly.
so he left it short.
Next, James Bartlett. And again, he's from Cygnus in Halifax.
And he's going to be doing a back dive pike. Oh, that was a really nice dive. Really nice. Good high top and nice entry.
The next diver will be Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy Diving Club. Stephanie, you had mentioned that there are some dives that are compulsories. How many compulsory dives would we have in the competition?
Okay, in the Men's Open, there are 5 compulsory dives and 6 optional dives. Make a total of 11. And the women, they only have to do 5 of each. It's a back dive layout. Really nice dive.
And would the compulsories always be done at the front end?
Yes, they're always done first.
The next diver is Mike Lang. He's the coach for Team Newfoundland.
And Mike also did a back dive layout. Really high, nice entry.
Yes, he scored 6s and 7s for that dive. Next diver, David Duncan. He's the coach of Cygnus in Halifax.
And he's going to be doing a back dive in the pike position. Dave's from St. John originally, and he moved to Halifax, and that's where he started helping his coach. It's a nice dive.
Next we have Adam Marsh, and again from the Newfoundland Diving Club.
Back dive layout, really nice. Nice dive.
And that will complete the second round of the men's open. On the 1 meter, we'll now move over to the second round of the women's open 3 meter. And again, Cara Ramsey will lead off of the St. John Fundy Diving Club.
Cara has improved a lot over the last year. Her dives are getting harder and she's executing them a lot better.
I understand they're doing quite a bit of weight workouts, that sort of thing, to develop strength.
Yeah, that's right. They mostly do the weight training with the older kids, but that was a really, really nice dive from Cara.
Next we have Pam Ennis, Team Newfoundland.
And she's also doing a back dive layout. That was a good dive, nice and high, but a little bit long in the entry.
Next diver, Alana Cundy, and she's from Point Claire.
She's also going to be doing the same dive, back dive in the layout position.
Alana's been out getting some sun, it would appear.
Oh, that was really nice. A little bit of splash on the entry, a little bit long, but nice top.
Scoring 5s. Next diver, Julie Kelson, St. John Fundy Diving Club.
The divers in St. John have been diving probably for around 5 years at the most, because when the Canada Games came around and the facility was built, we didn't have very many divers, and they've come a long way since then.
Yes, they have. Lorna Calder was the original coach of the team, and now I understand your sister,
Yeah, Susan
is
Clayton.
coaching the team.
And it was a great dive, really nice. Legs were a little bit bent, but other than that, it was nice.
Next diver, Andrea Coburn from Point Claire. Very nicely done.
Nice entry, no splash at all, and that's what the judges look for.
What are the main areas the judges are looking at while the diver is performing, Stephanie?
Well, they like to see a really high top. The higher you can get with the control is the main thing they're looking for, and then the next thing, obviously, is the entry. If they have a big splash, it doesn't look as nice, and they do deduct for that.
This is Jennifer Hudson, St. John Fundy Diving Club.
Nice dive, back dive pike. Really nice.
And that will conclude the second round of the Women's Open 3 meter. And we'll start again with Dale McLean on the 1 meter board from Moncton. Dale's been diving for a number of years and is always in the Atlantic provinces, one of the top divers.
I think he hopes to go to the Masters diving competition.
And where is that held?
I'm not sure. They haven't had a lot of them. I think it is overseas, however.
Nice dive.
It's a really nice dive.
Derek Terrio from Cygnus Halifax is the next diver.
That could have been a bit higher, and his legs could have been up, and he landed short because he has to get his toes up a little bit faster, quicker. But as I mentioned, he's been only diving for around 2 months, so he's doing pretty good.
It's a good effort, it sure is.
Yeah.
Next we have James Bartlett from Halifax.
It's a nice reverse dive pike. It's a rip entry when the bubbles come up out of the water like that. Exactly what the judges want to see.
Although I noticed he wasn't parallel with the board when he landed. Is that a concern in scoring?
Well, it is, but I don't think the judges can see it from where they're sitting.
Okay.
If we were looking straight on, we would notice it a lot more. They may not have seen it.
Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy.
Same reverse dive, but in the layup position. Very nice.
Next diver is Mike Lang, coach of Team Newfoundland.
And Mike's going to be doing a reverse dive in the pike position. That's nice.
Very smooth.
Reverse is one of the hardest dives to learn because it's the scariest. No one seems to want to take off forward and go backwards.
Back towards it.
Right.
Yeah. David Duncan, Cygnus Halifax.
Also a reverse dive in the pike position. This nice entry.
And again, our final diver in the men's open, Adam Marsh from Newfoundland.
Reverse dive layout. Really nice dive.
Hardly any splash at all. And that ends the third round of the men's open. We now proceed to the women's open 3-meter. Cara Ramsey, St. John Fundy.
Cara's made her national standards for age group nationals and will hopefully be going there.
Where are the nationals being held this year, Stephanie?
Upper Canada somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's Thunder Bay, isn't it, this year?
I think so.
Yes. Next we have Pam Innes, Team Newfoundland.
And Pam did a reverse dive layout.
Very nicely done.
These divers seem to have their compulsory dives going quite well for them today. We may see a little bit of a difference when they start their optional dives because, as I said before, they are harder. They have more of a degree of difficulty.
Next diver, Alana Cundy, Point Claire.
And her reverse dive was in the pike position. A little bit short. Her legs could have been held up into the air before she came out of the dive, but a little bit longer. That might have straightened her out.
Julie Kelson, St. John Fundy Diving Club is next. How many positions are there, Stephanie, in the diving?
Well, there's the tuck position, pike position, and the layout. So 3 of them.
And the tuck, obviously, you've got your legs tucked in under you, and your pike is straight, and the
layout, your whole body is completely straight, with sometimes a little bit of an upper arch in the back. And then that was the tuck position, reverse, and It's sometimes more difficult to control that because you seem to go over a bit easier, especially when you're higher. And that's just what Julie did. I think she's all right though.
Next, Andrea Coburn, Point Claire. In a lot of competitions, they have streams of water breaking the surface of the pool.
They just don't want the water to get too calm, and they want the divers to be able to see them, see it. That was a nice dive, really nice.
Scoring 5s and 4s for that dive. And next we have Jennifer Hudson.
Okay, and Jennifer's going to be doing a reverse dive in the pike position. Hey, that was a nice entry. A little bit of a splash, but nice. She tends to bring this dive out too far. It seemed to stand it up that time a bit better.
Okay, and that completes the third round of the Women's Open. We go to the fourth. Dale McLean from Moncton on the 1 meter board.
And Dale is also the former Nova Scotia Canada Games team for 1985. That was a beautiful reverse dive pike.
Yes, it was.
Really high.
I was speaking to Dale just before the competition. He mentioned that he thought they were diving 3 meter today, and he was all set to go with his 3 meter list, so he's had to put one together very quickly. Next we have Derek Terriel. He's from Cygnus in Halifax.
That was an inward dive in the tuck position. Nice dive.
It really is something to have been diving for such a short period of time and to be doing the dives he's doing.
Exactly. Some kids pick it up really quick, others it takes them a little bit longer.
We have James Bartlett, again from Cygnus.
That was an inward dive in the pike position. Very nice dive. James has improved a lot since the last time I've seen him. He's diving really well today.
Yes. Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy is our next diver.
And also an inward dive pike. Another really nice dive.
Very smooth.
They make it look so easy, but
yes,
it's not.
You were a competitive diver for a number of years, Stephanie.
Yeah.
How long has it been since you've been out of diving?
Probably since 1989, the Canada Games would be the last time I probably dove competitively.
Do you miss it?
Yeah, I do at times, especially when diving meets are going on. You kind of want to be up there.
Mike Lang, Team Newfoundland.
This is a nice inward dive layout, and that's a lot harder to do than the tuck or the pike.
He scored 5s and 5 1/2 for that dive.
That's a good score for the inward dive layout. It's hard to do.
David Duncan from Halifax.
Inward dive tuck. Nice entry, but it could have been a little higher. You really have to press the board down. The more you press it down, the higher you're going to go.
Is there any restrictions on the amount of movement in the board prior to your dive?
You have to keep standing up tall. When the board's pressed down, you have to stay with the board in a vertical position in order to keep your diving close to the board.
This is Adam Marsh from Newfoundland.
He did an inward dive pike, really nice dive. These inward dives seem to be going good for everybody.
And that finishes the fourth round of the Men's Open. We now move to the ladies 3 meter. Cara Ramsey, St. John Fundy.
She's She's also doing inward dive. Inward dive pike. Really nice.
Nicely done. Why would they have the men's on the 1 meter and the women's on the 3 meter, Stephanie? Why wouldn't they do both off the 1 meter at the same time?
I think it's just for variety, for the spectators for one thing, but I also think it's easier to judge and to judge critically if there's women on one board and men on another, because men do get a lot more height.
Pam Innes from Newfoundland.
That was an inward dive layout. Really nice dive.
Alana Cundy is the next diver from Point Claire. To date, how would you describe the competition? Are the divers diving up to your expectations?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. Actually, I'm surprised from a few of the people because they have improved a lot since I've last seen them. Now these clubs, one from Point Claire and Quebec and Newfoundland, they, as I say, haven't been here since the games. So it's nice to see them.
Yes.
That was an inward 1.5 pike. Really nice dive.
Scoring 5s, 5s and a halves.
Inward 1.5 pike. Another nice dive. It's very difficult to stand this one up because you think your feet are going to hit the board, but she did a good job.
Next diver is Jennifer Hudson. I don't think we had Julie Kelson in that last round, Stephanie.
No, I don't think so. Another nice dive. Inward 1.5.
Scoring 5s and 6s. That ends the 4th round of the women's 3 meter. Again, Dale McLean will lead off.
Front 1.5 somersaults with 1 twist.
Nicely done.
Very nice. Makes it look so easy.
He was saying he doesn't get as much time to practice as he would like as well. He's basically come to the meet cold.
Really.
Derek Theriault from Cygnus, Halifax.
And that was a front somersault with 1 twist. Very good for someone who's only been diving for 2 months.
Yeah, a little long, but obviously a lot of athletic ability. James Bartlett from Cygnus.
Nice dive, front 1.5, full twist. His legs were a little bent.
Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy.
And Peter's going to be doing a front dive in the layout position with a half twist. Difficult to nail this one at just a half, but that was really nice.
Mike Lang of Team Newfoundland is our next diver. It's a beautiful facility, Stephanie, the Aquatic Center in St. John.
Yeah, we're going to be having some more changes taking place in the summer to our leisure pool facility. new theme with the Caribbean South Seas theme. That was a front dive layout half twist as well, really nice.
You are the aquatic director of the facility, I understand?
Yeah, I just took that position over around 6 months ago.
Congratulations. You can already see improvements everywhere I look.
I hope so, it's hard.
David Duncan of Cygnus Halifax.
Ooh, didn't quite get his twist that he wanted in that dive. You gotta get your arms up over your head before you take off in this dive.
He knows it as well.
Yeah.
Adam Marsh, Newfoundland.
That was a nice dive, but he should have got his toes up a little bit faster so that he would have had a vertical entry.
Yes. That ends the 5th round of the men's open. Adam scored 5s and 4s for that dive. Now we have Kara Ramsey.
And she's also going to be doing a front dive in the layout position with a half twist. Kara's such a small diver, but she has a lot of talent.
Very compact. She's getting lots of power now as well.
Yeah, she is. It was pretty good. It's harder to perform that dive on the 3 meter. It's harder to control, so she did a good job.
I suppose your main concern is over rotating with all that height.
That's right. You have a lot more time to lose control.
Pam Innes, Team Newfoundland.
I think Pam's going to be doing a back twisting dive.
Very bright bathing suit Pam's got on today.
Yeah. I think one of the divers from the St. John Club made it.
Yes, Becky Rigby is making them now.
And that was a back 1 1/2 somersaults with 1 1/2 twists.
Good dive.
Really nice dive. Nice entry.
Next diver is Alana Cundy from Point Claire.
She did a front twisting dive. Front 1 1/2 full twist. Really nice. And her scores on that diver are 6, 5 1/2. So that's quite good. You don't often see 7 and 8s unless it's a spectacular dive.
And again, Julie Kelson is not diving. It's Andrea Coburn from Point Claire.
And that was a nice high dive, really good top, but a little bit long on the entry. It's important to keep your head up when you're doing this dive, or you will go long.
Is there a required order for the dives other than even within the compulsory group, or can you choose which order you want to do them in?
Okay, you can do them in whatever order you'd like, but the standard for that is front, back, reverse, then your inwards, and your twist, the 5th dive.
Jennifer Hudson just dove.
Doing a front dive half twist.
That completes the 5th round of the Women's Open. We're back to Dale McLean on the 1 meter board.
Okay, and Dale's going to be starting his optional dives, and he's doing a front 2 1/2 somersaults in the pike position. Very difficult to do on a 1 meter board. Nice dive.
Beautiful dive. He gets such tremendous height on his
That's
dives.
right. He really knows how to press the board down and get into the air. You got a good score, 7 and 6.5 on that dive.
And the scoring is out of 10?
Yes,
is that
it is.
the maximum?
Yeah.
Derek Terrio is next from Cygnus Halifax.
Front 1.5 tuck. It's a nice
long.
dive. Yeah, a little bit long. He looks like a really promising diver for Halifax, Nova Scotia.
Yes. Next we have James Bartlett. I noticed James came out and bounced on the end of the board. What are the restrictions on that?
Well, there's a whistle that's blown before each dive by one of the judges who's the referee. And as long as you don't he hasn't blown the whistle, you're allowed to bounce on the board.
Okay.
That was a front double pike position. Really nice dive by James.
Peter McDonald from St. John Fundy. Peters was doing a lot of diving up in Ottawa, and his parents moved down to the St. John area. He's been a welcome addition to the team.
Very nice front double in the pike position.
Being scored 6s for that dive.
Yeah, there's not too many men on the diving team, males. It's nice to see them come out, because they have a lot of talent as well. It's not just a female sport.
Mike Lang.
Front double, front 2.5 pike.
A little short.
Yeah, he had to get a bit more spin on that. But I think he's happy with that. I don't think he's done it for a while.
No, he got a good round of applause.
Yeah.
David Duncan, coach of the Cygnus Club.
Front 1.5 tuck. It's a nice dive. He doesn't seem to press the board down as much as some of the other divers.
No, he didn't get nearly as much height as the previous diver.
That's one of the hardest things in diving, is getting your takeoff correct and getting it so that you can get a lot of height on your dives. It's very difficult to do.
Yes. Adam Marsh from Newfoundland. I noticed in the background there's a trampoline on the lower left-hand side of the screen while Adam was contemplating his dive.
Front 2.5 tuck.
Again, a little short?
Yeah, a little bit short, but nice. It's a difficult dive.
Is that part of the training, the trampoline that we saw in the background, Stephanie?
Yes, yes it is. It's actually a major part of the training for divers. They have a belt that they hook up to around their stomach, and ropes that connect through pulleys and to another person on the ground, so that they can be safely, without hitting the trampoline, rotated and practice their dives without going into the water.
Kara Ramsey, again, would the whistle not have gone there, or were you able to hear him?
I think the whistle might have gone. Maybe they may not have been ready, but if the whistle had have gone, that would have been considered another balk.
And what effect does that have on the points?
Each score that the judges give, and there's 5 judges, each score would have 2 points deducted from it. And she did not complete that dive. She must not have got a good takeoff. She won't be happy with that.
No. Pam Ennis, Team Newfoundland. Sometimes once you break your concentration, it's difficult to get it back.
That's right. It's front 2.5 pike. Nice dive.
Pam had good height on that, didn't she?
Lots of height.
Yeah.
And a really nice clean entry.
6 1/2. Alana Cundy from Point Claire. There's a degree of difficulty with each of the dives as well, Stephanie. Can you explain that to us?
That just depends on how many rotations you're doing. That was a front 2.5, so that would be have a higher degree of difficulty than, say, a front 1.5. And it goes up with the amount of twists and the amount of somersaults that you do.
Andrea Coburn is next. And what's the range for the degree of difficulty?
I'm pretty sure it's from 1.0 up until 3.8, I believe. Not positive on that, though. Another front 2.5 pike. A little bit slow, but she did get it around and managed to have a good entry on that dive.
Next we have Jennifer Hudson, St. John Fundy.
It was a nice dive, a little bit far out, but nice entry.
Okay, well that ends the 6th round of the Women's Open. We start the 7th. The men will be diving 11 dives in total. Dale McLean from Moncton.
I believe he's doing his back option now.
So we've started the option.
That's
dive.
right. This is the second round of options now. They've done their front optional dive. Okay, back 1.5 in the pike position. It's a good dive. He could have gone around a little bit faster, a little bit slow, so he landed a little bit short.
Derek Theriault, Cygnus Halifax.
And he's just doing one somersault back in the tuck position and backward somersault tuck.
And again, all of these divers are doing optional dives now.
That's right. It's just he's been diving for 2 months and he doesn't have his degree of difficulty up that high, but it's good that he's doing at least 11 dives.
Yes.
That was a nice back somersault.
And in doing the dives, you have to choose a certain number of forward and backward dives, I understand. So can you
That's
tell us a
right.
little bit about that?
You have to have at least one of each dive. You have to have one compulsory in front, back, inward, reverse, and twist. And as well as the options, you have to have one of each.
James Bartlett from Cygnus.
Back 1.5 pike. Really nice dive. Really fast and a clean entry.
And he rotated very quickly there.
Very quickly.
Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy.
I believe Peter's going to be doing the same dive. Back 1.5 pike.
So he was ready to go there, and they weren't ready to have him dive.
I think he thought he was doing a back 1.5 pike too. I think he's doing a front 2.5 tuck, however. Yeah, front 2.5 tuck. It's a nice dive. A little bit short. Didn't quite land it straight up and down.
Of course, difficult to change in midstream and do a dive that's totally different from the one you've been thinking about and picturing in your mind.
Exactly.
Mike Lang, he's with Newfoundland. He's the coach of the team.
Was a back somersault pike.
And again, he's getting some applause for that one. It's probably a new dive that he's just trying out in this beat for the first time.
I think he got the judges a little bit wet on that one. Don't seem to be very happy with him.
No. Next diver, David Duncan. He's the coach of the Cygnus team in Halifax.
I don't think a lot of these coaches have been practicing very much. I think they've just put a list in so that there's more divers and it's a little bit more exciting to watch.
Yes. We'll see more of that coming to light as the dives get more difficult.
Exactly. I'd be less willing to try them. This is the back 1.5 tuck, I believe. might have a kick out.
The judges protected themselves
Yeah.
from the splash.
He does get scored for that dive because he
Yeah.
landed on his head.
Yes. Piers 2's 2.5, so he just barely got it in. He's happy though. Next, Adam Marsh. Adam's been diving for a number of years. I remember seeing him 3 or 4 years ago.
And he qualifies for junior age group nationals, so he usually goes to those.
Newfoundland had a very able coach several years ago who brought their program along a long way, and are they still able to maintain that momentum?
Yeah, I believe so. With Pam and Adam, I believe are two of their top divers. It's nice to have them here, but I believe their program is developing in a similar rate as the St. John Fundy Diving Club. I seem to have a little problem with the judges waiting on some. Maybe the scoring table's having a little bit of a problem keeping up.
I notice Adam has earplugs in his ears. Infections are a real problem with divers. The impact in the water and I think the judges are still drying off after that last dive.
And I think Adam's going to be doing his dive now, his back option. Nice dive.
Nicely done.
Back 1.5 in the tuck position. And a really nice kick out.
And that ends the 7th round of the Men's Open. We now head into the beginning of the 7th with Kara Ramsey on the 3-meter, St. John Fundy.
We don't really have a lot of open divers, which would be over the age of 18, in the city anymore. We used to, but a lot of them just do not have enough time to dive anymore. So we do have a lot of age groupers who don't usually dive in the open category, but do have the dives now and are able to.
Well, it takes a tremendous amount of dedication and practice. My daughter was involved with the St. John Fundy Diving Club. There's 8 practices a week, and they take 2.5 hours each, so it's a 20-hour commitment.
That's right. It's a lot of work.
And as you move on and start working, that on top of a 40-hour job really does stretch your commitments.
That's right. Even the coaching involvement that takes place is a full-time job alone. Okay, we're just going to go for a break now before beginning the Women's Open.
Make your move.
Kara, St. John Fundy.
Doing an inward 1 1/2 somersaults tuck.
Nice dive.
Nicely dive. Okay, Pam Ennis. Takes a lot more concentration when they're doing their optional dives. Okay, and that was a reverse 2 1/2 somersaults in the tuck position. Nicely done. It seemed a little bit close to the diving board when she took off, but it ended up to be very nice.
For instance, what would her degree of difficulty be, Stephanie, on that particular dive? We now have the third diver, Alana Cundy.
That's a 2.8, and the highest you can score on a degree of difficulty is 3.5, so that's quite high.
Yes.
There was also another reverse 2 1/2, very difficult dive. She landed it a little bit short.
Andrea Coburn from Point Claire.
It's a back 1 1/2 somersaults pike. Nice dive. A little bit out too far, but other than that, it was great.
5 1/2 and 6s she scored. Final diver, Jennifer Hudson in the Women's Open.
Okay, Jennifer's doing a back 1 1/2 somersaults in the tuck position. Nice dive.
Yes.
Really nice. There's a bit of a splash on the entry, but other than that, it was great. I don't think she's been doing that dive for very long. I think she's learned it recently.
She'd be happy with 5s and 5 1/2.
Definitely.
Beginning of the 8th round, Gail McLean from Moncton.
And as we mentioned before, Dale's been diving for off and on for the last probably 10 years. And he really he loves the sport and seems to really want to stay with it and help develop it. And that was a reverse 1 1/2 pike.
He looked straighter than the splash would indicate on that one. Would there be some other...
Underneath the water, he might have pulled in a different direction that would have made the splash higher, because he was straight up and down.
Derek Terrio from Cygnus Halifax.
He's doing a reverse somersault in the tuck position. Really nice entry. It's harder to land in the foot first rather than head first and get a good entry. There's a lot more splash and tail usually when you're foot first.
Is that right?
Yeah.
James Bartlett, again from Cygnus. Although the dives, at least in my view, they do look better going in head first.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
They do look nicer overall to the judges as well. Reverse 1 1/2 tuck.
He went out a little far on that, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He didn't get as much height as he should have. It's a difficult dive. Everybody, a lot of people anyway, seem to think that it's the hardest dive to learn, the reverse, because again, it's scary to take off going frontwards and then switch it around and end up going backwards.
Yes.
You have to have a good, strong basics and a good hurdle in order to do that dive as well.
Peter McDonald, St. John Fundy.
1.5 in the pike position. Really nice dive. And he doesn't seem to think the scores
5.5 and 6s.
Yeah. I think he thinks he did a little bit better dive. I thought that was a really nice dive myself. The judges must have seen something else.
They reviewed the scorers there. What are some of the programs you've got going for the summer in the Aquatic Center, Stephanie?
Well, we have lots of day camps and leadership programs for teens, and the basic swimming lessons, diving lessons, and synchronized swimming lessons. And that was reverse double. I'm not quite sure if that's what it was supposed to be. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to give him a score. 2s and 3s.
And programs also are for all ages, up to, from preschoolers, water babies even, 1-year-old to adults.
So people can register for those programs at the front desk at the Aquatic Center?
That's right. Our registration will start in June.
David Duncan, coach of Cygnus.
He's doing reversed 1.5 tuck, I believe. Ooh, not quite what he wanted to do.
No.
Now, as long as his head landed first, they'll give him a score, but I don't believe, I think his feet and head had hit at the same time, so I don't think he'll get a score for that dive.
Adam Marsh, would a dive like that affect the next diver when you were diving competitively? Would that put you off at all?
Not usually, because you're individually, you're thinking you know exactly what you can do. So normally it wouldn't, no. Sometimes though, you do get on a roll with several divers at the same time, doing the same dive. I'll either do it very well or very poorly. That was nice. That was a reverse 1.5 tuck too, and that was great. Straight up and down, no splash at all.
He seems pleased about that.
Yeah, he does.
Now we go to the women's 3-meter, Cara Ramsey, St. John Fundy.
And I believe she's doing a back 1.5 in the layout position, which is common among the females. It seemed to be a nice top. Yeah, it was short. She didn't quite get the spin that she wanted.
That's one of the most impressive dives.
It's very impressive when it's done properly. It's very noticeable when you make a mistake, however.
Pam Innes from Newfoundland.
Somersaults in the tuck position. Another difficult dive, but she seemed to do it very well. I think she's been doing these, she's been practicing these dives quite a bit. She's been doing them for quite a long time.
Alana Cundy, Point Claire.
She's doing a reverse 1.5 somersaults in the pike position. She came out of that dive a little bit too soon, so she was short on the entry.
And she was a bit crooked to the board, too.
Yes, she was. Her legs were crooked.
Andrea Coburn, Point Claire as well.
That was nice.
Yes.
Lots of height and a nice entry. It's very hard to control these dives when you're up 3 meters.
It's quite a height.
Yeah.
She scored 6.5 on that. Now we have
Good
Jennifer
job.
Hudson.
Reverse 1.5. In the tuck position as well. It was nice. A little bit off to the side. A little crooked.
And seemed to jump out from the board a little more as opposed to getting the height at the top.
That's right.
We're beginning the 9th round of dives. Dale McLean from Moncton on the 1 meter board.
And he's trying to start up a club in Moncton, but diving is a kind of sport that comes in and comes out of popularity. So at this point, we're having a difficult time getting new divers. But all over the province, there seems to be the opportunity to do so. To start even in the Learn to Dive program, not necessarily in competitive. That was an inward 1.5 pike.
Nice
dive. Could have got a little bit higher, I think.
How many divers would we have in the program locally in St. John, Stephanie?
I believe there's about 25 divers in the competitive program. The Learn to Dive program doesn't seem to be as popular.
Okay. Derek Terrio.
That was an inward somersault tuck.
And again, just the mechanics of jumping away from the board, coming back in towards it on the inward is very difficult.
It is. It's scary to know that the board's right in front of you and that you have to get away with it, away from it. The deeper that you press the board down, the farther out that you're going to go. So it's very important to have a good basic jump. And that was an inward 1.5 tuck position and a great entry.
By James Bartlett. Now we have Peter McDonald.
Peter McDonald also doing an inward 1.5 tuck. And that was quite nice, a lot of height.
Some of the other divers and the judges.
We've got lots of t-shirts and shorts for sale with the Atlantic Diving Championships on them. Brunswick, Team New Brunswick's logo. They're really nice shirts. And
This is Mike Lang. We recently had a couple of divers competing at the Senior Winter Nationals. Stephanie, can you tell us a little bit about them?
well, one was Becky Rigby, who has injured herself since then and is not competing today. But the other was Peter McDonald, who is competing today, and they dove. Their coach was very impressed with their way they dove at the Senior Nationals. No one from New Brunswick had ever been there before, for a long time anyway. And they were very happy with their scores and how they dove when they were there.
And this was held in Toronto, I believe, the competition, and some of the best divers across the country were there competing.
So,
next, David Duncan, coach of Cygnus Halifax. Actually, Becky Rigby is doing the poolside announcing today. taking a bit of a holiday from the competitive side.
And that was an inward somersault. A little bit over-rotated, though. We get 4s and 4.5s for that dive.
Adam Marsh from Newfoundland is our next diver.
Inward 1.5 attack and a really great
Nicely
entry.
done. Hardly any splash at all.
That was a nice dive.
That ends the 9th round of the men's diving, and we'll move to the 9th of the women's 3-meter with Cara Ramsey. There's Becky Rigby right there. And again, some of the divers and the judges in the poolside.
And Cara doing a reverse 1.5 attack. I think she was a little hesitant to kick out of that dive.
Yes. Degree of difficulty, she scored 4s from the judges.
The degree of difficulty on that dive was 2.0.
Pam Innes from Newfoundland. Pam really thinks her dives through, doesn't she? She's very
She concentrates a lot.
Yeah. That was very close to the board.
I think she came a little bit close to the board on that one.
Yeah.
But I think she's all right. Actually, I think she hit the board a little, get a little tick with something, but I think she's all right.
Will she be deducted points if she has hit the board?
She should be, just because it was unsafe. And her scores were 2, 3, so she was deducted some. She landed it, but I'm pretty sure she's all right.
Alana Cundy from Point Claire.
Okay, and that was an inward double somersault tuck. She was a little bit short on that. Didn't quite get all the way around.
Scoring 4s. Andrea Coburn.
And as I mentioned before, Andrea, she's from the Point Claire Diving Club, and she's been to 4 age group nationals. And she usually places in the top 6 at age group nationals. So she's a good diver from Point Claire.
What are the age group categories? Stephanie, are there?
Well, there's a lot of different age groups. Under 10, 11 and 12, 13, 14-year-olds, and then the 15, 17-year-olds. So they all compete at different levels.
That allows the divers, as they're progressing, to compete against people their own age. So
That's
they don't
right.
have to go against some of the older, more mature divers.
Exactly.
Jennifer Hudson from St. John Fundy.
Doing an inward double tuck. What a nice dive.
Yes. Very good dive.
Very nice. Landed that straight up and down, and as I mentioned before, it's more difficult to put the dives in when you're landing foot first.
And that completes the 9th round of the Women's Open. Beginning the 10th, Dale McLean.
Doing a reverse double tuck.
A little long, I
A
read.
little long.
Probably the least good dive that he's had all day.
That's
It's
right.
a shame.
Definitely. I think he usually does 2.5, and just kind of toned it down today to a double.
Yes. Derek Terrio.
That was a back summy, and it should have been layout. He should have been a bit straighter with a half twist. It was a good try, though.
Scoring 3.5s and 4s. James Bartlett. Halifax.
And he's doing a 1.5 somersault, forward 1.5 somersaults with 2 twists. It's a difficult dive to do on 1 meter. Let's see how he dives. Oh, it's pretty good.
Sacrificed a bit of his height by going out a little too far.
Yeah, that's right. It's really important to keep yourself close to the board. Not too close, but around 1.5 feet away so that you can get your height instead of using all your strength to go out.
Notice all the divers are using the chamois.
Yeah, just to make sure they're all dried off before they do somersault. They want to make sure they don't slip when they're in their dive.
Yes.
That was a nice 1.5 with one twist by Peter McDonald.
6.5s. Mike Lang, coach of Team Newfoundland, is next.
Full twisting 1.5 as well. That's a nice dive.
Scoring 4.5s and 5s, mainly 5s. David Duncan, Cygnus Halifax. With the dives that are completed and the scoring, what happens with the scores, Stephanie? Do they keep all of them in the calculation?
No, there's 5 judges, 5 to 7 judges. Today we have 5, and 2 with the highest score and the lowest score are deducted. They're not used at all. The other 3 scores are added up and multiplied by the dive's degree of difficulty.
So a diver who is not diving as well but doing more difficult dives can
Still has a chance.
still win.
That's
Yes.
right.
Adam Marsh.
But you can still do very well if you have your dives don't have the same degree of difficulty. If they're a little bit lower and you execute them all very well, you still have a good chance. So you don't have to have a very, very high degree of difficulty. It's always nice to, but if you execute all your dives perfectly, then you can still do very well.
Yes.
I'm not quite sure how many twists he was supposed to have on that dive. I think he
Not sure if he
over-twisted.
was short or long on
Yeah.
that
It was a nice top, but it's hard to control twists.
one. That completes our 10th round in the men's open. Now Cara Ramsey, St. John Fundy, will begin the 10th round of the women's 3-meter.
And this is the final round
Yes.
for the women, and the men will have to go one more. They go 11 rounds. And I think she's going to be doing a front 1.5 with a full twist.
See her practicing on the land. Divers think it through, don't they,
That's
before
right.
they actually go.
like to go through the motions of the dive. There's a lot of different things you have to complete in the air. So it's nice to just do them a few times before you do the dive. Oh, that was a good dive.
Good dive, legs seem to open up a bit just before hitting the water. Scoring 4s. Pam Innes from Newfoundland.
Bam, I believe, is doing reversed 1.5 somersaults with 2 1/2 twists.
Degree of difficulty 2.9. This is a difficult dive.
Very difficult. Ooh. She broke her straight position when she twisted. I think she felt that she may have been a little bit close to the board.
Which is probably a result of hitting the board previously. It'll stay with you for a while.
That's right. You don't forget that you've done something like that. It does scare you.
Alana Cundy, Point Claire.
Another double twister, front 1.5, 2 twists.
A little long. Scoring 4 4.5.
The more twists that you do, the harder it gets to realize where you are in the air, and it's harder to come out of the dive.
Andrea Coburn, Point Claire. Andrea has some tape on her hand.
Sometimes when you're up higher, the pressure on the water hurts your wrists. In this case, it looks like her thumbs, but that was a nice dive.
Yes, it was. Jennifer Hudson finishing off her final dive. She's chosen a dive with a degree of difficulty of 2.1.
Full twisting 1.5. And I don't think she's done this dive very many times, so that was good.
Yeah. Now to the final round of diving, the men's 11th on the 1 meter board, Dale McLean.
It's a reverse, 1 1/2 somersaults with 1.5 twists.
Nice dive.
Very nice.
Scoring 5s. Derek Theriault from Cygnus Halifax.
He's done very well during the competition.
Yes, he has.
Even though his dives don't have as much degree of difficulty, he's doing a really good job. That was a double somersault tuck. He didn't quite have the kick out on the entry because he was out a little bit too far.
Scoring 4s. James Bartlett.
Front 2.5 somersaults in tuck position. It's pretty
Didn't quite
good.
get his legs straight on the entry.
It's a tough dive, especially on 1 meter.
Peter McDonald.
And I think he's doing a reverse 1 1/2 somersaults in the pike position.
Degree of difficulty 2.4.
Nice dive. Nice height on that dive. However, his kick out wasn't quite where it should have been, so he wasn't quite vertical.
Mike Lane. I think Mike will be happy to go back to coaching.
I think so. Back, double somersault tuck. Ooh. Bit of a splunch there in
We're halfway down the pool, and I felt a bit of it.
I think he's having a good time, though.
Oh, yes, he is. 3s, 3.5s. David Duncan, and again, the coach of Cygnus Halifax. Now that's got to affect your concentration.
I think so, yeah.
Somebody was talking to him in the crowd.
Oh! Trying to do a front double somersault tuck, not quite making it around.
David, I think, is happy with the 2.5s.
I think he's just happy to be done.
Yeah. Adam Marsh, Newfoundland.
And also a front double somersault tuck. Quite a bit out too far.
Yes. Well, Stephanie, that completes the round of diving, the men's 1 meter and the women's 3 meter. I think it's been a good day of diving.
Yeah, definitely. And tomorrow they'll be back at the same time from 12 to 2. If anybody wants to stop in and watch in person the diving championships, the open will be going on. The men will be on the 3 meter and the women will be on the 1 meter.
Well, that should be very interesting. When is the next meet, the next competition in the Atlantic region?
Okay, the next one is going to be an invitational diving meet in Moncton, and that's going to be from June 7th until the 8th in Moncton.
Good stuff. Okay, well, we'll see you again tomorrow.
Okay, great. Thank you.